Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Analyst Desk. As always, that music, it's that folk music. It makes me so happy. I am not from the Nordics or am I Slavic, but that music just hits somewhere.
It's hit the spot. You made the point I was just about to say. It hit the spot for this major.
I absolutely love it. Between heavy metal and folk music, I think my 15-year-old self is very happy with the track list. But we're back. I'm Milosh, and this is Fresh. I'm going to have a chat about our last matchup and set things up for you, set up the whole stage. Spacestation Gaming versus Team Empire. A couple years ago, in the before days, we would have called this a grand final possibility. Things maybe potentially have changed. Who knows? Maybe they'll go up against one another later on.
Yeah, we still could call this a grand final possibility. We've got two teams that have been world champions, that have been major champions, that are both formidable rosters.
Yeah, and Spacestation Gaming is looking for more blood. Of course, Empire having lost a matchup today to Demon Kia, that kind of really hurt. But here's Space Station, and here's what they've got. It's Skies, Rampy, Bosco, Fultz, and Hot and Cold. Hot and Cold is definitely a top performance, hot as hell, not gonna lie. Over the past 2 months, Sky's joining in on the team. 6 months ago, Fresh, we were talking about Space Station as this team that just has no direction. It's a different roster. They didn't know where to go. Their invitational performance was absolutely abysmal, given what the expectations were. And look at them now. You know, started from the bottom, now we're here.
Yeah,
NAL.
I think the pickup of Skies and Hotton particularly have helped transform this team. And when I've VOD reviewed this team, they've got a plan. And then they've got a plan for everything. And it reminds me of BDS-ish in the way that if they attack a map, they will do a default. But they also have like an anti-default, it can be called. They have 2 or 3 set attacks for every site on every map. And that range of strategy will allow them to win rounds that maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, they wouldn't have. And I think that's kind of completely led by the pickups of Skies and Hot and Cold.
Definitely so. Everybody's been meshing so well. Mesh is also a name you, Jess, and I use for the desk. But yeah, can't wait for that on the playoffs. And Lycan, of course, sitting behind the squad of Space Station is, I guess, is going to come into frame. There he is, Lycan, the man that has propelled North America and Space Station to the moon, way past the International Space Station, because this man is an absolute genius when it comes to getting things together here. But yeah, Space Station, what can they do against their opponents of Team Empire? Here they are, and it's Shepard, Joystick, Scyther Dan, and Always.
Team Empire had a very rough first game today against Damwon Kia, no less, who they went to... You see the worst map there? That's the map that Team Empire played against Damwon Kia in Oregon. And I think there's been a couple of picks from European teams on map picks where it's a little bit questionable going to a bad map against an APAC team and have been burned. And that's exactly what happened to Empire. They are now... Their backs are already up against the wall after one match because this is the group of death. Anybody can beat anybody. They need to produce a big win here against SSG. You know, it is not over on day one. You can't get yourselves out of groups in day one, but you can almost certainly eliminate yourself from, you know, the tournament in day one. Yeah,
2 L's definitely will hurt. I want to correct myself earlier. Them getting ahead of myself. You know, I'm not someone that's used to being the analyst here. Yep. I'm usually, you know, the playing dumb kind of thing on the host of the show. And yes, Space Station did take a big L versus Furia, a close game that they had versus their LATAM opponents. And that really did hurt. But we talked about, Jess and I, you know what, Furia, underrated team, and they will mess you up, especially in the best of 1 series.
Yeah, they are so confident. And I watched that match in the back room, and SSG kind of really struggled, especially the aggression. And I think that's a consistent theme with LATAM today.
And one question to you, very quickly. How do you think these teams kind of work themselves through this pressure of having lost a game earlier in the day, especially in the fashion that it happened? Villa as a decider, go ahead. I want to hear your POV on this.
You've got 6 best of 1s to play. Nothing is over after 1 best of 1. You've just got to focus. And the fact that you've got 2 a day, these teams probably went back. I assume, given the break we've had between game 1 and 2 for these teams, they might have had a little scrim. You know, just play a bit of Siege, talk it through, and just get through whatever issues you faced and be ready for the next game.
Empire banned Oregon to take us to Villa.
Yeah.
Which is, you were up in against a rock and a hard place here between them, between Oregon and Villa. And Empire had to make the decision, and the call was, boys, let's go Villa.
So we had a talent meeting last night, and I actually said this when we went over Team Empire.
Yeah, it took us 5 hours to get there.
It did. I said the Empire have got here on the back of being able to play Clubhouse through UL all year long. Yeah. No team will let them play Clubhouse here, and I think Empire's somewhat limited map pool is coming back to bite them. They tried to play Bank during EUL. They've been forced to ban it against good Bank teams, or teams that potentially haven't shown any Bank. They're leaving themselves Oregon and Villa. Anybody who knows Empire for the past 2 or 3 years know Empire do not like Villa as a general rule of thumb. They equally, over the past year, do not like Oregon. They've got themselves between a rock and a hard place here. They lost quite convincingly on Oregon. They're going to have to give it a whirl on Villa.
I am not sure how this one's going to go. SSG look like they've got the reins on all this, especially after their close 8-7 versus Furia. Anything can go either way in best-of-1 series, but it's Villa and Empire were forced to go there. So, hey, uphill battle for the Russians. What can they do against Spacestation Gaming? Fresh, thank you very much. We're going to toss it then to our casters for a final matchup of this evening. Spacestation Gaming versus Team Empire, and it's beautiful Tuscany. See you in a moment.
Hello, everybody. Yes, it's me, Fluke. Who's that? It's Hap.
Hap, yes.
Yeah, it is Hap, yes.
I was like, am I doing my own introduction, or do I... Because people only recognize our voices right now.
I know. It's obviously on this stream we come in cool. Did Des just shout to me from the other...
I don't know. Did Des shout to us?
Des! Hi!
Hello!
I don't know if you can hear.
He's not live right
over
now,
there as well. What's that? You guys have somehow only shown up just now, just a second now, and realized, yeah, there's 2 streams, 2 games, and 2 games left of today. Us on the A stream, and then the wonderful pair on the Bravo stream as well, with Des in the blue taking it home there. But for us, ahead of us, SSG versus Empire. If you were to paint a picture, Hap, and the picture was...
Okay, yeah.
Teams that you thought would have taken their games earlier today in this group.
Uh-huh.
Who would you have put?
I think on one side, there would have been a certain Russian team, I think, yeah. I think we'll name them Empire.
Yeah.
And on the other side, I think we would be bringing in the renewed old world champions. Spacestation Gaming, let's name like that, yeah.
But unfortunately, their story was not the way to be played. And it wasn't really a fault of their own, because both of them showed up at the start. But Damwon Kia and Furia were fantastic earlier on in this day. They were the ones that currently sit at the top of the board in a group that, sure, was highlighted as being a bit of a dangerous group of death. But I don't think anybody expected 2 potential favorites of the tournament.
Are those
SSG.
rats?
Don't look.
Don't look, everybody. Look away.
His handwriting is almost as bad as mine. My handwriting is the worst, though. There is nobody at this entire wonderful Sweden venue.
Are you sure that your handwriting is the worst?
My handwriting
Show me your handwriting.
No, my handwriting is so bad. They just used things I'd written to be all the cool runes around everywhere, because it just doesn't look like regular.
Is that what they were? I got them on my shoes as well, actually.
Yeah. That's just words that I've written. And they went into it. Just as we go into this, 54 versus 46%, that is the tightest one of those I've seen all day.
It is. It definitely is. I mean, we've seen a 25 versus 25 before, but that one wasn't quite complete yet. As Blue said, not all the states, their votes have come through yet. We're still counting them as we started with the matchup. Not the case here. Empire versus SSG. Empire, of course, the semi-finalists of the finalists of the Mexico Major, managed to win the Raleigh Major just a while back. You know, that is actually a long time back already. And Spacestation Gaming, it is not the same roster at all, but they have managed to win. As Milos would say, who was just on the desk here before, the granddaddy of them all.
He does.
That 6th Invitational.
Now, one of my curiosities that I'm going to throw up here as well is obviously we get the pleasure and the joy of watching Empire week in, week out in EUL.
Yeah.
They never played Villa. That was a pretty consistent band from them in terms of bringing a fight. But so was Oregon. Today they have played 2 maps that they've usually kept under lock and key, and here they've decided to bring it to the fight.
Now, also, Spacestation Gaming has not been playing it during the NAL. It had 5 bans from their side. It was banned against them 3 times. And with Empire, that was 4 times banned by Empire, 5 times banned against them. So both these teams not been playing Villa recently. So it's going to be a good match to see who has been hiding the strats the best and who will be coming out on top at the end of the next, well, let's say 12 to 15 rounds, or 7 to 15 rounds. You never know. We've seen some 7-0s already, especially FaZe, who don't know what a loss is. Yeah.
I think one of the good things for these 2 teams right now is they're on D group, which is the furthest possible way away from FaZe right now. But I guess they're still fighting to try and find themselves in a final. Hey, where have we seen these 2 teams butt heads? Well, actually, we have the pleasure of international data that's recent for SSG versus Empire. They played in Mexico in the quarterfinals, and both maps obviously went the way of Empire, who were able to lock it out. Now, there has since been a change, and that's sort of a twofold thing. Skies has come into the board. He was on the desk, and he went back hard, flipped the table, grabbed a chair, and then sat down on it and jumped into the game.
Mom said it's his turn at the computer at this point.
His turn.
So,
and then Hot and Cold has decided it's his turn in every server possible, apart from, unfortunately, the conversion earlier today, which, to be fair, it was a heck of a game, 7-8.
He's still doing quite well as well. It's not like he had a bad game.
No.
It's just he didn't have the same game as he did throughout the most of NAL. That's kind of the scary part, right? When a player doesn't have their best game at that moment, they're still better than the average player in that case. Either way, it is going to be Empire onto the attack first. And as we have painted the picture just ever so slightly of 2 teams who, well, didn't really have their first game go their way, there is a way to make up for it, and that will be right now. This is that match where they have the opportunity to at least put themselves into that top 3 and potentially even better.
Well, with them still doing a sturdy setup, they have this extension for Hot and Cold with Faults to offer some cover around the Astro side. Scythe is steadily making his way underneath with the Buck to cause some problems, and they're about to be caused right by the mirror window. Gets popped open, they fire their way back through, don't get the connection, and that puts Hot and Cold in a tricky situation. He, however, decides it's not tricky enough. Tries to put some pressure back into the Hop on the walk-in, but doesn't quite get a connection with anything that he wants. There's a drone giving a read and a beat on an intel, and he's not going to throw himself entirely to the Russian Lion/Bears, because let's go stereotypes here, and the type that the stereo is playing right now is let's get out of this hot bedroom.
And it will need to take control here as well. Astro is a bit of a contention point, but as you can see, none of the SSG players currently on a position where they will be challenging that. That is just going to be a bit of free ground Empire can take here, and they have to do so quickly. They have to make sure that they have plenty of time left with the amount of work they still need to do. And with every second that passes, that is going to become harder and harder. Stan looking to get the very first kill here.
A spray towards the top of the red stairs, and Empire have been able to shepherd the SSG players a bit further away, but the connection hasn't quite come in terms of the gunfight itself. They have curiosities as to the player positioning, and it's always that might try and find the first fight. I say, as Medics expertly cuts to the fight that was actually coming through, but still, nobody has been able to find a bullet to land on an opponent as of yet, and that, to be honest, is something that plays against Empire's favor. Sure, SSG has held on and stuck their claws in to see if they can make some problems, but them not getting caught out is probably something that will help them in the later throws of the round.
Yeah, it's an opportunity to help them here as a grenade is going to be cooked by Always, but he's not going to be able to actually try and throw it out because he has no opportunity or has no information about where these two players are. Scyther, however, from below is going to start opening up with the Skeleton Key, taking care of the mirror window, which is a key point actually for the defense. As Hot and Cold takes a lot of damage and the plank goes down. In the meantime, a piece of utility will be used though to at least relocate him, and now Joystick needs to be ready with the cover.
Volts is going for the rotation underneath. Hot and Cold is down, puts them into a 4 versus 1. Suddenly it sprays around on the strategy table, but it's Volts off the backside in a post plant. Can't quite get the catch on Dan. He's holding the sliver over the top of the box, but in this retake now with an entire study lockdown and control, it becomes a very tricky entrance. Pre-fires his way through the door, gets behind a sturdier door, but still, there's 3 people that you've got to open. The first and the second are either side. A quad kill and 20 seconds on the board. He's going to see if he can play it. Dan's going to have to go for a swing. Round the corner, it's the ace! Volts sends it into space itself. Look behind him, the stars are around Space Station, and they bring this one round.
How is he allowed to do that? There's no way he just got away with that one. It was a 1-on-3 post-plant situation. He decided to go for the stick, and you know, he might have even been able to just go for it and not go for that 5th kill in the end, but he decided to go for it either way. And with the expertly observing there, just that flick, just look at that. Sees him coming in or hears him coming in, goes off at the right timing there, and Volts is starting it off with an ace there. I don't know what to say.
So one thing I am going to say.
What are you going to say?
So the turn of the camera, that was our observer. That's nothing that was done by him. So if you're wondering, if you've never seen it before,
that is true.
When the camera moves in a post plant, that is not the player. That is our observer, discovered by you.
It was actually.
Accidentally discovered by you that you can turn the camera whilst they're observing. So if you're wondering what that was for us only on the audience. All Volts could see was the ground and the little computer in his hands. But he could hear Dan, and Dan could hear nothing but the ringing of being shot in the face.
Now, that is as well, right? And also, just to clarify, if the observer moves it, that doesn't change the vision for the player either. So it's not suddenly like Medics controls the vision of Volts whilst he's defusing. That will be a bit of a troll potential to come down there. Either way, what a clutch that was. The ace to just come down there, a 1-on-3 as well. As the quick flick and the 2 Empire players really allowed him and enabled him to go for that defuse in the first place and force the remaining Empire player to come closer. And what a start it is for Space Station, because otherwise that would have definitely been an Empire round.
All right, well, what can you build on the back of this? The opener goes into your favor, and now you're going to see if you can try and thread to something a little bit sharper. Empire, they suffered and stumbled there, but to be fair, the way they got in that position was a bit of a gambit as well. 15 seconds on the plant, still with plant denial utility being thrown down. It came down to bold and boisterous cover that connected. It almost came through. However, one man had a different suggestion. Now, let's see if Empire can bring a little bit more pace in terms of getting a close down. SSG played a very good sort of thread. They kept a distance, and they kept pulling themselves back just a little each time.
For sure. Bit of verticality being used here by Dan, using the breaching charge to at least dislocate the player that is close towards the wall. Of course, with the electrification on it. But it's going to be Decayed, it's going to be Electroclaw that can be used. It's hidden up top. It's going to be hard to spot from the current position that we find Dan in. So a grenade that is being tossed in needs to do the job, and did so successfully. A second one, however, will be tossed in soon. So the cell must have come through. An impact trick, however, to come in first, and that's a grenade that potentially took care of the Electroclaw as well. But it is going to be the Kona station that is currently on cooldown, so Bosco is not being revived by it and will lose his life.
Yeah, the wall got open just at the end there. Catching the claw was the actual prize that they wanted. The pickup onto Bosco, well, that's just what was at the end. Pulled back into the clutches of Empire, and now can they actually try and find some structure behind it? We get closer and closer to the minute mark, and they've actually been able to find a body in that opening thread before the first didn't fall until about 15 seconds left, so it's an improvement. However, they still need to dig their way up through the floor. There's still a lot of pocket utility left. That's going to be the Banshee. Stop stopped screaming and the shield caught. Oh, the Banshee is just on the catch there. It's still alive and will at least cause a little bit of problems on the Astro swing up.
Definitely will cause some of those issues, at least if they will be deciding to go that way. You never really know what Empire will be doing at these very final few seconds. It seems like Sander at least is going to be putting up some pressure from the window as Skies digs himself in deep. He takes a little bit of damage, has one smoke canister left and will deploy that now as well. 25 seconds are left on the clock and a swing in from the concrete will be coming in soon. It's on a goal to try and protect him from that danger, from that threat. As Dan starts it off strong, it's a grenade to fall in as well, and it's only up to Rempe now. Is he going to be able to go for a clutch as well? For an ace clutch even. He gets two to start it off. That's a potential third, but Dan survives just barely. It's the third one to come through. He spots one more. Is he going to be able to get that one? He swings around the corner. He gets a little bit off. No way, he gets a quad kill. That is his second clutch in a row. What are we seeing right here, Emmy? No way. Space Station gets away with this 2 rounds in a row.
What are we seeing?
An ace from Fultz, and then we see the 4K to come through right after from the side of Rampy. Space Station are clutching it up.
Twice in a row, Space Station refuses to die. You can see it, Lycan's face there.
He's like, there's no way. He's like, you know,
man, as surprised by his boys that I think we were. The only people seemingly that weren't were them themselves. The confidence and bravado leads to the first 2 rounds. 9 kills for SSG between 2 players on 2 rounds.
Now imagine being Empire and the first round you're in a 1-on-5 or a 1-on-4 situation and you know, you lose that one, it doesn't feel right, but it's not the end of the world, right? You head into that second round and you find yourself in a 1-on-5 situation. Like, surely we got it this time around, but no! It's going to be Rampy that just dances around, and on the back of the Kona station that held him back up just slightly with the amount of damage he took at the exact same time, allowed him to live, allowed him to stop the diffuser from being planted, and it's a second clutch from Space Station in a row.
Oh, and the call as well, it was great! The call to go for where the planter was, the intel that gave the read on that positioning went for the right fight at the right time, which a lot of other players would not have done. Oh, it's good.
You dance around to one player that was the cover as well for so long. It's like, I don't know what to say about it. It's just incredible play, and somehow he manages to live through every single Empire player. And you know, after one of these first gunfights, it's like surely he's not going to be clutching this out because he's 1 HP. But little did I know that there was 2 or 3 Kona stations on the way out for him there, and he managed to live through all the other gunfights that came through. Either way, Space Station, 2 clutches in a row. I'm going to say it. You cannot rely on clutches every single time, but Space Station apparently can.
Well, Joystick is going to creep their way up towards the classical corridor and see if they can catch the fleeing body around 90 corner. Generally, the entrance has gone into the favor of Empire, whether earlier on or at the bit of the haphazard fight that exploded over the site on the strategy table plant in the opening round. Rampy isn't going to overextend. As I said, they sort of played this carrot and stick trick before, and they're just buying themselves some time. Hodden is the first that suffers, and Joystick pushes that further. Swings around and tries to get the spray onto 90, can't quite get the connection.
Rampy trying to take a gunfight here as well, but decides that his life, of course, is quite important. Decides to rotate all the way back around towards the side of the Astro. Plays roughly around the box, holds a very long angle, so if Joystick starts moving in towards the trophy side, he has the opportunity to shut him down. Fultz, he's on the other side, he now knows he's coming in. The gun shows, and that is him now taking care of. One of the 2 clutchers that we've seen before has been neutralized. Rampy, however, still active, but who knows? Maybe it will be Bosco, maybe it will be Skies. You never know right now with Space Station Gaming, because they have done it twice before in the 2 rounds that we have played so far.
Well, SSG, they found themselves 2 bodies down, but they've been in these situations before. It's up to Empire to lock it off. Things get a little bit haphazard, things get a little bit shaky, and SSG gets a little bit bold, and that's when danger starts to strike. But we still got a big portion of the round before that happens. Bosco makes sure that that top on the supply stairs does not get popped open, and Dan with the rotate on the far side is going to steadily make his way up towards red. They have a rough idea on where the players and the bodies are, but this swing on the bottom of red stairs might be the next big issue. Rampy is in the position to try and cause some terror. He has the gadget as well if he wants to buy some time, and he has an escape. And it's a big escape. Nobody really goes down there, so it's up to Dan to keep this clarity.
Go. He picks the very first kill there. He instantly gets traded out. However, Bosco with a great plays, but he doesn't quite manage to get the shocking kill down. Skies with a great one, but he watches the wrong way. That will be him picked up. It's Scyther with the kill, and this time Space Station will not be allowed to clutch it out. This time it will be Empire that get the advantage and manage to stick it in the end as well. And they go up to round 4 just like that. Luckily for them, Villa defense side of map. We have to mention it all the time. They have that one attacking round now. If they manage to get a second one, their half is basically already a success, even though the 2 big failures that happened during the first round.
I mean, I think the first 2 rounds, for me, throw a lot of stats into the air in terms of these are 2 great teams that I just want to watch hit heads because there's so much potential. You could see there, the focus on Empire's faces, they had a wake-up call twice because the 2 rounds, they should have been theirs. That's how a clutch works. At the same time, it shakes you when it's back-to-back. It shakes you when it's back-to-back and that dramatic. And you could see that in their expression. Joystick leading in 6-2. He is trying to find firefights. The way he's actively moving around. We saw the faults pre-fire. Joystick didn't wait around. Lent into it. And this used to be the problem for them. They used to cite this as the reason Empire dropped off for a period of time, was that lack of confidence on taking fights. You've kicked the Bears, if I'm going to go back to that analogy, and you showed them 2 rounds and said, these are ours. They're going to see if they can try and take as many back now.
It's not like a 1v2 clutch either. It's too incredibly bigger one than that. But yeah, I said it before as well during the first game. We've had, you know, me and Blue did a bit of a pre-show. I'm like, Joystick is a completely different player when he's on LAN, and that is what you're currently seeing. The confidence is just so insane. He's playing on that 0 ping environment. He just wins every single gunfight almost. Of course, twice he didn't. Those were the 2 clutch rounds where it didn't really go their way, but either way, point still stands. He manages to get a lot of these kills. Empire, they just need to make sure that they close out these next couple of rounds.
All right, now, as the story goes, clutching rounds does not a winning team make or a winning game. However, it is still in their favor. Hoden isn't going to see if he can stick into the fight as fervently as he went before, but does drop Dan, takes the trade on the mirror window. He looked for the fight the first time round. This got popped, but didn't get it. Joystick gets rampy in the meantime. And that's going to be a bit of a call and a wake-up there as they try and pull themselves further back. The Iana's underneath has some of the danger they can apply with those well-cooked grenades. They know the rough positioning and locations of the players. There's still a mirror up there, and that's a mirror that's still stopping an entrance. If it goes unchecked, if someone else gets caught, it could be a big bit of danger.
Now that drone has definitely spotted him out, and the grenade is being tossed in here. That will let Hot and Cold know that there is going to be some pressure upon him, and he will decide to rotate out back towards the actual site. They go, but he gets caught off. It's always from the balcony that shuts him down as he moves through landing. And his body, well, that will reach the actual site, but his soul will unfortunately not. And now, a 3-on-4, yet again, the advantage will be here for Empire, but we've seen it so many times before, and Fultz strikes big, gets Joystick off the board, and leaves just Shepard, Scyther, and always left to try and find a potential to plant here, potentially lock off the round as well.
Very well played there by Fultz. Dug himself in on that 90 corner to see if he could get a catch on a loose player that might have expected some more safety. Here, Skies is still a backline, which is going to make that study approach a little bit trickier for Always, who's going to start to try and push towards the fight. A lot of ADSs means those grenades aren't going to sail through as well as they'd liked. And with Scyther going for the rotation, potentially all the way underneath, he might first make a bit of a stop-off around the mirror window. There it is. Goes for the reload, goes to try and force them into a trickier situation, goes for the pop, finds it, and goes for a fight at the same time.
It's being challenged, of course. It's a very effective way, because if the buck opens up next to the mirror window, you can almost guarantee that they want to open it up. So often the C8 gets used right after. It's aimed towards that red canister, not towards the player, as Skies right here has 2 Empire players inside the study, but the first one doesn't go that way. Fultz right behind the vault door, manages to sneak himself in. There's 5 seconds on the clock. They need to make this stick. There's another kill to come through, and that is going to be again Bosco here, prone on the ground, who gets a double kill with that shotgun. They had no clue that he was there. They knew that they had to push in quickly. but they were not ready for that one. If he was standing, that could have been an opportunity there for the second player to get that kill. This was just a little bit too much here. And of course, it all started off with Hot and Cold. You can have that very impressive kill. Skies, he had the opportunity to lock it off there, but it was Empire that this time refused to die until the very final moment when Bosco went prone on the ground. Had a bit of a pre-fire actually through the wall, took some damage from it. As he went prone, managed to survive and eventually win that round.
It was Bosco's lock-off as well, because the reason they had to go for the rotate was the smoke canisters that were Hail Married all the way towards the entrances they had on Study. The breach and the door was smoked off. The only option that they could do is throw themselves into the other side of the site. They had enough time to make that decision and that rotation. They did not have enough time to wait out the smoke. And the danger of throwing themselves through there when Faults was still active towards that door at that point, too much. So, winning that fight, throwing those canisters, making yourself the door itself that needs to be passed with a shotgun in tow, leads to a success there for Bosco. 3-1. Empire find themselves in, to be fair, if a round was back and forth, that is the first round.
Yeah, I'm just wondering now, like, okay, so do we count that Bosco as a clutch?
I mean, it was a 2 versus 1 clutch, but as I said, he was the force on the rotation. I think that the monumental clutches that we've already seen come through, but I think that that was the most contested round. I don't think a round has been as contested as that so far in terms of positioning, in terms of utility usage, and back and forth. And that is, I guess, a bit of a worry for Empire, because SSG have started to show up on that regard, have started to heat up. Whoever loses this game is the bottom of this group.
Yeah, and that is not a place that either of these two teams want to be in, especially considering both of them are considered favorites for this group to make it out. Spacestation, of course, after their NAL performance, Team Empire after how they did in Mexico. These BDS would maybe be, alright, we won't be meeting them in the semi-finals to potentially lose out on our spot in the grand finals again, but yeah, it's not really what you want as a European fan here. You want to get every single team through, of course, and it's very unlikely that will always happen, but you never know. This Joystick takes down a shield right after it got deployed. Grenade. Fultz, however, was shielded from the shrapnel itself due to the explosive-resistant bathtub he was in.
That's it. It was a clever moment there from Fultz. He sort of expected the pressure and hopped into the bath to make sure that he was protected from the cacophony of explosions that would otherwise dampen his day. Here, though, Joystick is looking for a fight underneath. The slow creep and crawl doesn't quite find any success around dining, and instead they're going to see if they can try and take care of these mirror windows from a little bit more relative safety. Plays against the bars, plays themselves into a slightly different position, and expected a response, a firefight from the verticality that SSG has decided to try and make their mantle.
It is SSG that is currently, of course, 2 rounds into that lead. They are the ones that receive the pressure here as well, but the Mew Jammer will stop those Excaros or the Selmas from really detonating for now. Always, however, inside the bathroom is in an opportunity to try and find some angles soon, as he does go prone, hoping to spot one of the Space Station members to swing just a little bit too aggressive, so to say, to allow him to potentially pick up one of these kills. Anyway, the breach is there, just not really the manpower yet.
Hopped in, and this is one of the slowest approaches that we've seen from them so far outside of that very open round where they were still able to get that diffuser down. The grenade round out the side of Astro's stairs doesn't quite connect, but that sure does. There's a C4, and the grenade's thrown down doesn't get it either. SSG, for the first time, have this body advantage and almost get one more for the trouble. And as I said, they've started to wake up, and this is them sort of going, yeah, we have. Skies goes for a wide swing as Dan gets rampy on the far opposite side, but dropped pretty much instantly by Hot and Cold on the rotation. Now as the spray comes through, SSG lock off a half with, I would say, their best performance on it. And that puts more pressure onto Empire.
I was going to say, it's 5-1 now for Space Station Gaming.
It's 4-1 actually. 4-1, I can't count.
Yeah,
I'm sorry I led you astray.
I assume it. Either way, 4-1 now. But this was the actual only round that was truly a Space Station Gaming round where they were completely in control the entire time.
Yeah.
And that is kind of weird to say, that they're right now 4 rounds up, but only one of them was really due to their own dominance really coming through. But they still have another opportunity. He's not locked off quite yet. Don't worry. I also sometimes miscount. It happens, you know.
Thanks for standing up for me.
Sometimes we're already ahead in time, you know, as Marlou would say, the future is now.
Future is now.
It is now. Round 6.
4-1. And what we're seeing, hey, look at this. It's a bit of an explore on a site that you don't really see too much. It is specific to teams, not even to regions, to teams that like to have a bit of a play around on this site. And hey, let's hark back to what we talked about at the very beginning of the day. Villa has been a little bit of a secret map. So it's a lesser seen site on a bit of a secret map for both these teams, SSG, a team that is creative pioneers of fun holds on more troublesome locations. What are they going to bring to the library party?
That is the question. And
a very quiet party, a library party.
That should be a quiet party, because otherwise people are not allowed to read their books, or not able to at least. But if I'm thinking back, if I'm opening up those history books that are inside that library, and I'm taking a look at the European chapter, you're looking at teams that played this actively, and the first team that comes to mind to me was Easy Dream, the Challenger League team, which of course splits up afterwards, and now part of it went to Vitality. Back in Challenger League, they used to play it a lot, and actually that carried across to Vitality, who have shown it here and there as well. Not in the same flavor as, of course, that team has, but that would be the European team, I would say, that really likes to play this site.
Well, Joystick is looking for an early fight, as he's done somewhat successfully before. 2 drones go past Rampy on the top of the red stairs, and Gemini is the 3rd drone that gets dropped round. There is a bit of protection from Hot and Cold on the far side, and as they swing in to try and apply some flat pressure down, they're isolating that stair set. They make sure that the rotation underneath will be dangerous and could be punished, and that puts a bit of doubt into Rampy. It forces him into this moment of, do I stick it, or do I try and pull back to another location? What's safe? Well, in the game of Empire, steadily less and less. They're seeing some openings, some clever takes there on some bits of utility from above, but they still have to try and put the pressure across the 2 players that have locked themselves in on the top 3 players, even actually as Skies has got himself in AVG.
Good drone there, a lot of information given out to the side of Empire. And you said, will Rampy stay, or will he maybe try and rotate out? I don't think there's a way for him to really rotate out, because currently, you know, there is the angle that has been created from above that is being watched. Joystick is currently below as well, really holding that hallway down. So the only way for him to get out would be to go back from the top. But, you know, there's also members there. So he's really stuck on these red stairs here. He needs to stand his ground. He needs to make sure that he actually shoots out. No, what? Where did the grenade go? Oh, it's the ADS that just got it last second, because he weaved to the left side there, so that kill didn't come through. His joystick, however, that will lock him off. Fultz gets the trade, however, so we stick in a 4-on-4 situation where Shepard is now starting to open up onto the vault.
Very important pickup there on the trade for Fultz, as they're able to put some of this pressure back into the side of Empire. 40 seconds, and Empire is starting to see if they can finally try and get some control over the top floor, but it's not fully being handed over. Hot and Cold has moved himself into a new situation. Skies is still causing some trouble up above in Study, I believe at this point. Might have the rotation possibility, and they have some awareness of this. Empire's actually pulled themselves down. Stuck in on Mudroom as another Lion roars into the sky, but the vibrations don't quite catch anything. But Bosco short catches Shepard. The trade comes through from Dan now, 15 seconds. They're looking for a bit of a cross-countenance here. The library book gets read, and it's a trade either side. Suddenly it's sprayed all across the board, but 7 seconds, and it's actually an SSG lockout who had the drop on the player who dropped.
Not enough time down there in the end for Empire. They were forced in the final 15 seconds to really rush it and not really had the opportunity to check the right angles, hold the flanks for just that second longer that allowed them to drop safely. They had the entry here, but the instant trades that really came through from SSG, those were eventually what won them this round here. That puts them, this time, with a lot of half, 5-1.
So we were right.
We were right. It was going to be a 5-1. Again, the future is now, right? We were just ahead of the times. Just gave a bit of a spoiler, but we won't spoil the match any further. We'll use the right clean feed this time.
No, our future one. All right, 5-1 SSG. You got a couple of those scrappily. Let's be honest. 2 ace clutches pretty much back to back. Those aren't rounds you're expected to take in a lot of other players' books. They wouldn't be rounds you got. It could be a 3-3, but it's not. And that's the important part of this point, is SSG realized that. They got better and sharper. Empire took a round after those clutches, and that was their wake-up to be like, okay, let's step into this game, because not only do we have a huge amount of skill, which they have flirted with in NAL, but they had a wake-up bout of energy of, look how good we are.
That's it. Look how good individually we are, because it wasn't just, you know, like an ace over the whole round where you get one and then you get one traded and you get one more. No, it was, you know, 2 kills and then a 1v3 clutch, and after that it was a 1-on-5 clutch really to come down. Of course, wasn't the ace in the end, but, you know, getting that planter is more important in the end anyway.
The game sense there, as I said at the time, is just... And that's a combination of calls as well, is the knowledge of where the plant was going down, the calls of go for it, and the confidence of the player to do the right thing at the right time. Talking of, there's a blow either side, and Rampy locks it off for the double, drops Dan and Joystick very quickly and decides that he wants to take control of the stairs. Study is a point of pressure as well, and as they were caught setting up and a little bit sleeping, is the smoke canister that buys them a second of time. There's still a bit of concern from Empire. A lot of territory left by a bold and brash play of, I'm taking these stairs.
And this is the thing about Villa, right? If your defense is right, if your defense is good, you can hold off these attackers for 2 minutes 30 on these choke points, on these key interest points. But if it doesn't go well, within 30 seconds, you're losing one of those key interest points, like those main stairs that are now in control of Spacestation Gaming, who are looking to slowly wrap themselves around the side, slowly start taking control as they want to start opening up inside of that vault as well to put some pressure onto Shepard. That's going to be exactly what Hot and Cold is currently doing. Takes care of that mute jammer. Another spot comes through. They know one is inside that corner. A long angle is being held here. If Skies spots the head of that player right behind the bar, it suddenly turns into a 2-on-4 situation in favor of SSG.
Well, they're still trying to creep their way through from the ground they made very early on. It bought them a lot of time and a couple of bodies, but still, the pocket utility is in the hands of Empire, and it's down to SSG to see if they can force a little bit more out. The grenade is going to see if they can catch the body, and so almost does. Always a sliver of health away, just a scratch of shrapnel and splinter from the buck would cause the end of Always. And it's so close, Always is dancing in the smallest dance floor and is somehow still standing.
Now Shepard has received a small rotation into the vault he could use to try and head back towards the side. Saiter goes aggressive. He picks up that diffuser. That's a 3-on-3. Shepard even takes some damage there from the grenade, but he manages to survive for now. It's Saiter to be dropped from the back though. Hot Cold inside the landing, drops a flashbang, spots one of those players, goes aggressive right after him, but he fails to get that kill. Shepard on 1 HP this time. Look at the HP of both these players. They're literally a sneeze, and both of them will die right here. And as Shepard is going to be able to try at least to go for the frag. It's Rampy, the last one left right now. He needs to clutch this out. There's 12 seconds on the clock, and it's Shepard with 1 HP to get 2 of these final kills here.
5-2. Shepard is able to lock out the opener round on their defense, but that lead-in from the Ash stacked up with Rampy on the sledge was such a big cause for concern. And if I'm going to talk about wake-up calls that have happened, that is surely going to be one, because that site offers you something that some of the others don't, which is time. Built in to the brick and mortar way that AVG walls are put together, that breather, that moment for Empire to recoup the losses and sort of structure themselves again is helped. You don't have that on your tertiary site. You kind of don't have that here on your secondary site as well, depending on where that first drive comes from.
I was so convinced that could have been a space station round there. The first initial 30 seconds were so strong. Able to truly shut down the main stairs already. And just if you knew what the utility was placed on that stairs, that's all 3 ADSs, for example, were all down on that staircase. They managed to literally neutralize them within 30 seconds of the round, not having to deal with them anymore at all. The grenade is unfortunate that it wasn't able to pick up the first kill. The actual gunfight that followed up right after with Hot and Cold is just a single point of damage more that he needed to actually lock off the round and the game. Well, not the game, but at least the match point there. Unfortunately, was not able to do so, but there's still plenty of time here for Space Station to try and be the first one to reach the 6, because they still have that 3-round buffer. Need to do it now. That would mean 4 match points. Instead, he's making good use of that new double Capcan method.
Bomb located by
it's fun to see, and we've seen it cause destruction for players and teams earlier on today, like when Rogue suffered a death to it instantly out, Brian, and the double comes through. Faults first off the board, but look at all the blue bodies that are there trying to stack up. However, there's not an instant pick back up. Beside the locks off Skies with the C4, they still have some pressure and a cold diffuser now as Bosco's in a bit of a dangerous spot. Rampy is the next off the board, so is Bosco, and suddenly it's just hot and cold left. They went for that scream through onto the site via the bathroom, but Empire, as I said, had a bit of a wakening up to the application of the pace that if you find faults, chances are there's a whole vein of gold and diamond players behind him, and SSG are going to take themselves a little bit of a conversational time here. He's up on the roof. They're going to slow things back down because they're 5-2, probably 5-3 at the end of this. Though it wouldn't be the first ace clutch.
I was going to say, is this the moment when it
wouldn't be the second
clutch
ace clutch we've seen?
Oh, man. He's just going to waste that time now just to prevent them from having to use their tactical. That is what you assume. Just the time. They quickly talk it through. He's trying to put up some pressure now because there is plenty of time left. There is always the opportunity that you clutch it out. Again, we've seen it twice happen already, and he tries to go for it, but unfortunately he's not able to get either of the kills. And his Empire with a flawless round to get a good sequence on their first one.
So I think they're calling the attack timeout as well behind it because Lycan wants to have some words. No,
they're not.
It looked like he was gesturing.
Pacing around.
He's just pacing around. He's throwing some shapes, getting the blood moving. It is slightly cold. Obviously, the rooms are heated, and you'll see it on the desks. The players have these little hand heaters. I know they're very cool or hot. Ha ha ha. But Sweden itself, where we're at itself, last I checked was -3.
I'm checking quickly for you.
I don't know what that is in the way Americans measure stuff.
I have no clue either. It's currently -2 degrees.
-2 degrees?
Yeah, so it's starting to warm up compared to earlier on the day.
What's that in the other sort? Does it say that as well? Just for our Americans?
You know what? I'll just Google it.
Okay, you do that, and I'll look towards Empire, who have been able to build something. Now, they're not taking the tack time out, as it might have looked like they were doing, but they did have that conversation. And it wasn't just a conversation to get their heads screwed on. They went for 2 very aggressive lead-ons on 2 of their rounds, and from that, they suffered a pace, and Empire learned it. And that was them slowing themselves down and saying, all right, let's re-evaluate, but also slowing Empire down.
It's currently 28.4 degrees Fahrenheit.
28.4 degrees Fahrenheit.
That sounds a lot warmer, actually. If you
it sounds like a lovely day.
It sounds like a lovely day, but it's cold out here. Either way, 5-3. And more Capcan traps are being deployed. Space Station, well, that was a very quick round that they have just had. Just not in their favor, really. And they will be wanting to change that because every single round that Empire wins right now is a round closer to a potential overtime. And, well, have to be fair about it. If they do not get another one, it's a round closer to defeat.
Well, with the track slowly coming around, Dan's going to see if he can leave the last on this staircase, but then realizes he's not under that intense pressure that he might otherwise be suffering, has no need to drive himself further away. Shepard gets a bit bitten and scratched by a grenade that swings around, but is able to keep himself stood and happy and confident around the site itself. As we said, what we're seeing from SSG is a different take here, and Dan takes the first. Fault's dropped on the main door, trying to get the camera on the loose play. That is obviously a big blow because that is the top performer inside the server, now alongside Joystick, but there's still a chance for Joystick to drive some more pressure in.
I think Fault's also, you know, this was his second ace actually on the tournament already, which is quite insane after you've literally just played 1 map and are currently busy in your second. So managing to take him out is a big factor gone indeed. Grenades are being tossed over to get rid of the Mew jammer that allows him to go for a potential breach, but as the Nitro is being tossed back out, at least some time is wasted. However, Skies, well, he's not trying to wait for too long there. That Nitro will get rid of the exothermic, however, not the kill, but it's at least a little bit of extra time wasted. It's at least a little bit of utility wasted right now with Joystick playing close around the corner. That could be just as well a swing to come in as soon as the exothermic will go off.
That's it. Skies is going to run away and Joystick swings.
Another C4
too late. 2 C4s. Who needs impact?
And they have another one.
And they have another one. They went in with 4 and a couple of impacts, and they made sure that the impact was one felt by the utility, the pockets, and now SSG. A minute on, plan B's on the cards. They've got to try and pick themselves up and go for a slightly different approach and scream round. Dan was painting in the art room and almost got caught, but Hot and Cold was the next to suffer as the spray comes round on the split. Scyther is battling, and it's scrappy all across. Multiple different fights happening at exactly the same time, and that is the result of the SSG rotation. Dan gets one more, 30 seconds left now as they're going to see if they can lock off across the top. Bosco gets a battle back against Scyther, and suddenly they found an ebb of silence. But 20 seconds, they got to start making some noise.
It's not much control on the actual side itself, but Skies is going to be able to get a very important kill. Unfortunately for him, not the second. Oh, Shepard lives with about a single point of HP there. The diffuser has been dropped. Space Station needs to recover it. Rampy is on a mission right here with Boss got a bit of cover right here, but he blows up by the actual Capcan trap. It's only up to Dan, though. It's a 1-on-3 clutch. He's going to be able to make it happen yet once more. It's two members in the DBNO state, and the plant now starts to happen. But he decides that there's no way he will be having time, even though it might have been close because the door was barricaded off.
Door was barricaded off, and we've always got to remember, if you've never known this as a fact, those things aren't called out unless you call them. They don't have the intel that people are down from the game offering it. They only know it from the calls, from he's down or he's trusted. We don't know what the intel that he was working with at that point. If you believe it's a 3 versus 1 and you just got to stick the diffuser, that's probably not going to come together. A 1 versus 1 in that situation, you never really know. And to be fair, if a team has shown that the impossible is possible, it's definitely got that space helmet painted on the side of it. Attack timeout is the conversation, obviously, now, as Lycan does try and drive some of this home before it becomes a bit of a risky situation. 5-1 to a 5-4. Empire have pulled off a triple rotation of sites, and they're going to see if they can just grab one to put that extra bit of pressure on and put themselves on map point.
We could have been at a 3-6 right now. It could have been match point for Empire if those two first rounds did not go Space Station's way. They might be wondering, well, Hap, why shouldn't have gone their way? Because they did in the end. And then the only argument I'm going to be giving you is ace clutch and another ace clutch, really, that came through in a row twice. So that is why it could have gone Empire's way right now. It could have been their match point, but instead they're still both fighting for it. Tactical timeout is over. That means Lycan is no longer allowed to talk to his troops from now on. And we are getting underway. It's the Aviator and the games room that Empire decide to go to, and the Buck will be disappearing. It's the Ying to make its appearance.
It's on the board, and it's a drive, because to be fair, when we've seen some of the success come behind SSG was built on the quick play, the quick pace that they could apply on that drive-in. They're going to see if they can go back to the formalities of trying to rock the opponent's world within a short breath and space of time. However, Empire woke up to this. They put the pressure back in. They realized that this is a game that they like to play, and you assume they're going to have an awareness about it. That is what those Candelas might do, is try and play against the possibility of these swing rounds. Say, well, if you want to stick this fight, we're going to make it very awkward for you.
They're definitely going to be trying to make it awkward here. I want to see how Empire is going to be dealing with this, because of course the last time we were down here was Space Station Gaming that managed to take the main stairs within 30 seconds, mind you. Empire was still able to turn it around back then. That is something that Space Station doesn't want to let happen, but they're probably not even going to be going for the same site yet. I wonder, is Hot and Cold using the shotgun, considering he's running around with a pistol right now?
It's either that or he's being very sneaky and hiding.
Okay, no, I was going to say.
Yeah, I was going to say, because it was a 6 pick, so maybe they were hiding gun intel.
That could be the case, yeah. So the pistol, I mean, the pistol is also unique. Doesn't come with any other operator, but it's a bit of a
You hear it less.
That's it. Like, it doesn't get used as often.
Yeah. But either way, there is still the Ying on the approach. There is still this possibility of danger that might come through, and, well, it's a moment where Empire might realize that the pressure's not actually coming from the same side it did before. Instead of the main stairs rush, it's a slow and steady creep and build from the opposite side of the building. Bedroom is under their control. Volts is crouched walking around underneath to make sure they don't get caught out by the chance of a loose Empire player, but for now, Empire has got themselves
look at that.
Sitting pretty.
Yeah, they're They're setting themselves up for it, though. They realize it's not coming down from that side of the map, so instead we'll be really focusing on top of the landing. There's going to be some verticals here. Shepard spots out some of these drones. He's looking if he can maybe find one, but can't quite yet. And the space station is looking to get some information from below. It's Fultz, of course, that has the opportunity to use these S charges and try and dislocate one or two of these players, or potentially even go for some kills. Oh, that's the ADSs. Oh, he misses it.
But he could shoot through that now. He could get an angle onto those ADSs if they want. They're going to realize that there's some stacked on, and Fultz has actually moved off, so maybe they did expect that to pop them. The second burns as well. The mute jammer is going to stop any of that instant rollout, but they have obviously the read underneath. The slow and steady creep and crawl goes through. That is all the frag grenades gone. However, they still have candelas, they still have smokes, and what you'll have in a second is all those ADSs back up and standing, which means that they've got to be burnt once again. There's Bosco going for that clarity, and we're about to have, you assume, a cacophony of explosions.
Yeah, the shield now has finally been taken care of, but the ADSs are getting active yet once more, so they need to make sure that if they want to use these candelas, they're again wasting them before they're going at it. They're about to be jumping in, but it's a smoke canister that will stop them for it, at least for now. Saita gets the first initial kill. Dan still active right around the study area as well, but Skies is looking to put some pressure from the balcony here. It's the Selmas that are being deployed. Dan wants to take care of them and will do so successfully, just to make sure that study is not becoming a danger point for themselves.
Scyther is the first to get dropped in the fight, but it's Dan that finds Fultz, and that's an important kill because SSG picked up sticks and tried to rotate for a bit of a wider take on Study, but Dan says no studying for you unless it's a quick take there. Hot and Cold and Bosco one apiece, and suddenly behind the strategy table, they found a 2 versus 2. Bosco has a bit of the cover and the shoulder comes through. They slip on by, can't get the diffuser, but they do get one loose player. Hot and Cold hops up, drops one down. Now goes for the swing on the second, but it's Shepard that keeps Empire clutched. It's not that. Nope. There you go. You could have played your own game of hotter or colder, but it's yours to take away. 5-5.
That one got quite close there in the end. Just a quick bit of discussion on the side of Empire afterwards. What quite went wrong there, because they had quite a bit of control, but then suddenly it was the great gun skills, of course, from Space Station that came in and suddenly turned up the sight. Just something they don't really want to have happen. Bosco, for example, just getting rid of the player on top of the main stairs there. And Hudson Gold as well with the jump up. He should have never been allowed to pick up more than a singular kill there, but he was almost able to do so either way. But the thing is, from a 5-1 situation, we have gotten back to a 5-5 situation. The game is back on. And whoever wins this next round, Emmy, is going to be the one that at least secures themselves a point, but more importantly, has the match point in their hands.
Well, you did say Villa is often defender side.
I did say it. It's a defense side of map, you know?
It is. And I think one of the things to take away from this is obviously, regardless of how this game goes at this point, if it does go away from Empire, you'll cite those first 2 rounds forever.
Yes.
Is at that point, those moments would have been their lockout. But that's the game, and it's not over yet. And SSG, they now have a lot of pressure to see if they can try and convert one of these rounds. Just one to get to OT and to match the score that was put against them. Just 2. But they've just needed 2 for the past 4.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? If you look at the kills that Fultz have been putting in, or Rampy, they have been stagnating ever since the side of the half, not really being able to put up too much of an impact onto these rounds. So just them activating again would be quite big. And, oh no, did that drone just... Oh, no way! Hudson Gold, he threw his drone, it bounced back from the roof, and it jumped over the fence, which means it's automatically destroyed. So he wasn't going to be able to use his Twitch drone there. That's very unfortunate to lose it like that.
It's a little bit of a moment. It's one of those sort of disconnects that does happen in this game, and it's what do you build behind that? And now I guess they're going to see if they can build a lot more on the pressure of a single Twitch drone, as there is still a lot of utility. There's still a lot to try and burn their way through. Rampy's getting some pings on the players that are around inside the site itself, and they're going to see if they can get a catch, or even underneath the site itself. Scyther and Hot and Cold get one apiece. A great grenade from Rampy drives for the first time in a long time the body balance into the favor of SSG, but can they convert it this time?
That is the big question. They need to convert it as well. There's still 2 minutes left, however, plenty of time as Hot and Cold will be using his very last Twitch drone to put up as much damage as he possibly could. Took out a default cam already. That means that they will not get the information about a player potentially being there. Of course, that could be a sound to be used on, for example, an ADS or an Electric Claw if we got into a situation like that, because that is currently something they're struggling with. They need to open up that wall. They need to open up to get themselves inside of that trophy. And that is something that he's currently working on. He's trying to get the drone into the right position, and currently there's no Empire member trying to stop it from happening as Shepard is about to be coming in, but the Electric Claw already taken care of.
Already gone, and that wall will get popped open. We've seen that be a big detrimental play. The impact stops that one opening up into a full rotation hole. The most important one is gone, but still, so is Large Chunks. No, didn't quite get the catch in time. It pops off all the way, and suddenly SSG have a route through onto the site itself, and suddenly Empire have a bit of a gap, a bit of a problem that is tough to hold onto because of the ferocity that we've seen of the gun skill of SSG when they need to step it in. Hot and Cold, creeping steadily and sneakily and slowly, might catch Dan or might get caught by Dan. It really depends. They're both looking for just a scratch, a sliver of intel, and as Skies finds one more, it's an important take on the far side. Skies is going to see if he can stick the diffuser in the meantime as the smoke canister pushes him off. He can't get the connection with the ground. Has to reposition round onto the close corners on the monument door now as Dan from deep goes for one more, but we're in a post-plant situation. Two in the bedroom are causing more of a fuss than usual, and Dan can't quite get the connection. It's the door and the spray, but he runs out just as he goes for that single last bullet connection, and Shepard in the 3 versus 1 post-plant. They have a great stretch of bodies all the way around the split side, one either side of the breach, and nothing but a pretty angry owl stuffed and staring at him as he sees if he can pull a bit of a clutch factor back into his favor. But now with the time it would take to even get to the fuser, this is an SSG round. They just need one more to take the map home.
That is the match point they have been hunting for in the past 4 rounds so far. They finally managed to get it, and that means that they have the opportunity to still lock it up with a full 3-pointer. And then, if that happens, again, we would be citing those first 2 rounds where Rampy and Fultz were able to both pull in an ace clutch. Of course, one not quite getting the kill, the last kill, the ace itself, but it was still a 1v5 nonetheless. This round will be important, very important, and the kitchen and the dining room will be used by Empire. They've won that one once before, but Spacestation Gaming, it's a team that knows how to adapt. They know how to bring the fire back to go their way, and this is going to be probably the most important one of tonight.
As you said, going back to kitchen, seeing if they can offer themselves some support. They've gone with the 4C4 build once again to deny any potential information, but what we have as a difference is Selmas instead of those exothermics on the potential chance of the close quarters swing in. You assume they're not going to go for that fight once again, but also, even if they don't, them C4s, well, they're multifunctional. Instead of just using them to kill utility, they can also kill players that are above you in bedroom.
Exactly. And that is, of course, where Shepard comes in, guiding them with that cardiac sensor, has the opportunity to, when the top floor push seems to be apparent from the side of Spacestation Gaming, that he has 4 mines. He can, you know, basically guide around. He can detonate them at his own will just by telling, like, a word, a signature word. For example, boo, which is often used, for example, in European rank stacks.
Is he going to get that as soon as it goes down? No. Because Twitch doesn't get those throws. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's one of those things now. I'm still like, there's just been so many changes recently.
Now that was going to be the camera that got zapped out instantly by Hot and Cold. Also, I don't know, if it was still able, I don't think you want to do it straight away.
Oh, no.
Give away your drone position, right?
I mean, yeah, but he gave away one early in the ground.
That is true.
Anyway, previously, but here. All right, SSG, what can you do to try and convert this? Final one. You've gotten 1. That has matched your opponents, but you've only needed 2 for a long time. A great little bit of movement and what they tried to connect with last time, but it hit the wall and bounced its way back into the aether and disappeared with a bit of a fade out. Hot and Cold has slivered his way around. There's not another jammer that he needs to, so he's going to read that intel. Say, Mozzie's here. Don't worry, I'm going to the connection.
Exactly what he's doing indeed. He knows where he is, but the drop down just came through. Always drop down. It's Rampy that picks up a very important kill, though, is Scyther to be dropped. And you would say like he's one of those top performers, but everybody currently on the side of Empire is on 7 or 8 kills, except for, of course, Joystick, who is in a world of his own right now with 12 on his tally. But there's still a man down, and that is something Space Station knows how to work with. They need to make sure that they close it out here and right now to make sure that they will not be the team that is currently ranked at the bottom of their group.
Hey, there's those C4s doing that thing about killing people we talked about before. Bosco is off the board first, and as Faults opens up a bit of an angle, finds the head of Shepard. A quick read and break there, and drops the man just cowering on the close corners who went adrift to try and find the fight himself, but not in that way. Pulse is gone. And with still a C4 in the pocket and one on a pre-place, they're going to see if they can try and utilize some ears to lock out these final potential 2 bits of damage. Joystick is trying to find that angle, pops it off, doesn't quite get the catch he wants to as Rampy's causing as many problems as possible and trying to just sliver a bit of a lockdown here. 40 seconds, Dan goes round to Art and finds the fight. Faults knocked out of the park now and always is trying to get a bit of control on a site that is currently bodiless.
There's not many people around. It's Joystick that is in a good position to potentially go for a bit of a swing. It's Rampy with a bit of verticality to come through. The plant is coming down. 45 seconds. Space Station Gaming are close to be taking this one with a 3-pointer here as it's only up to Dan now. He's trying to retake the top floor control. There's 2 members of Space Station Gaming around here. There's a bit of pressure coming down from Estro, but he's falling back down to the bottom floor. It's Hot and Cold that is still here on the balcony. Is he the one to lock it out? Is it Rampy? Is it Skies? Which member of Space Station Gaming is going to take the honors right here to pull the 3-pointer home? It is going to be Hot and Cold. They managed to win it here. They managed to take it home. And you can almost say, thank you, Faults. Thank you, Rampy, for the first 2 rounds, because those were absolutely crucial.
I mean, it was a huge fight. It's been a long day for SSG, they're aware of it. It's been a longer day for Empire, who have had 2 losses now under their belt. They sit at the bottom of a group that a lot of people thought they might be flying high on recent good performances on a major, recent lockouts in a UL. Here, though, it is them that finds themselves wanting and struggling from the first day.
Yeah, it is quite unfortunate for them, but Space Station is happy with it. It might have not been a clean lockout you would have had after the 5-1 we've seen before, but it's a lockout nonetheless. It's the full 3 points, and that is, of course, what matters in the end. Yes, of course, maybe we will get another tiebreaker like we've had in Mexico. Every round in that case will matter, but those points, those matter first.
And that's it. And that's the sort of breakdown that you see now is how important are these first games going to be? Every game is going to be a rematch at one point. Every team is going to find each other once again. And all of these woes, was it a rough, tough day at the office for the Russians? And are we about to start to see their meteoric rise? Or is this something that the other teams are going to use and say, well, we're in, let's go further?
That is the big question indeed. But before the show is being closed off, we are going to a quick break and then head over towards the analyst desk.
What does it take to create the future of a gaming community? Join us on this 4th episode of I Call Next as we discover how to level up gameplay and reset the expectations of an entire league. PayPal. Press play.
Easy going right there. One more to go.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Analyst Desk. What a day we've had, Fresh! And what a game that we've had between Spacestation Gaming and Team Empire, where Space Station were able to snag North America's first victory of this entire day. Let's go! Can we get some cheers in chat for Space Station and for North America? They did it, Fresh. That it was a close one, and we talked about this game going into it. Villa. This is where Empire had to choose to go between this and Oregon, and we're expecting SSG to just smash through Empire. We were, and they started off that way. Although, it did happen, but for 2 or 3 massive clutches. We saw a 1v4 and then a 1v5 clutch. Not all 5 players killed, but it was a 1v5, no less. And sometimes that's just how the cap cans. Tristan, I hope you're watching this, and I hope you're having fun. Because I was telling Fresh over here that Tristan never misses, and you can kind of say that, you know what, got mentioned on the major desk, and that's how it's going to go. But this was our game, and there were some exciting moments that we're going to see here in the replays that we're playing in just a second. What a match we've had. Started off with those first 2 rounds, bunch of clutches. That's exactly what you're expecting from SSG. Look at that from Foltz with Dan. Came in, taken down, and there it is, done with plenty of time to work with. Isn't that the best way to kind of get your game started? It's a confidence booster, and especially in round 2, when an ace happens like this, it's one where the SSG will have been like, boys, we know we have not played these 2 rounds well. We've got away with them, but we've possibly got a bit of a tilt factor now. We saw another clutch come out of Bosco, and I think it was round 4, and SSG managed to get a very good defensive half. That just about secured them enough rounds that they could limp over the line on the attacks. SSG's attacks weren't particularly great. They'll need to have a look at themselves because they've not had a particularly good day at all. But they found a way to win, and that's what you need to do in these best of ones. You need to just keep churning those wins out, get yourselves through to playoffs, and then have a think about the game plans in playoffs. You got 6 best of ones to play in total, as every team has to play their opponent twice through this. It's not like, you know, your usual 4 teams in a group where, you know, you lose twice, you're out. You actually have to play more than just saying, oh, you're playing best of ones doesn't actually explain to you exactly how the groups works. It is way more complicated than that, and definitely you're getting the best of the group by the end of the stage, even if it's a best of 1 series. But what's really surprised me in this is that despite everything, Team Empire still lost 7-5, and it's on one of their worst maps they were kind of pushed into. If it weren't for those opening 2 rounds, we might have seen an Empire victory. They would have won, yeah. And that, they've been forced to play some off maps today, and we kind of hypothesized with Pengu backstage about how did they try and force Chalet and Bank during EUL and completely, you know, struggle with confidence on those maps, and that's why they're becoming the instabans in this major. If that's the case, then they've got to play their traditionally disliked maps. But you also can't go into a major with a free map pool, right? So they're going to have to go to these kind of middle-of-the-road / lesser maps, and they're going to have to find a way to win. But for a couple of clutches, they would have done. So Empire have things to build off going into tomorrow, even if it is 2 losses. For sure, and even though they kind of skipped the day with no points to really work with, it is still 5 rounds that they put on the board here against Spacestation Gaming. But tomorrow it'll be crunch time for Team Empire, with SSG now collecting all 3 points, winning in regulation against their European opponents. Rampy at 12-8, 12-9 for Foltz. We saw them playing incredibly well in this matchup, and they really pushed SSG above the line. This is pretty much it. We have these explosive players, and even if Hot and Cold and Skies and Bosco can't always be there, and really Hot and Cold and Skies can always be there, you can still rely on Rampy and Foltz. And realistically, Bosco is this player that we used to talk about a lot in the past, because he's the guy that always made it to every single event somehow, some way, because he is the rock that held every team he was on together. Everybody can kind of orbit around the sun that is Bosco, and that's what you'll love to see the Space Station's success in this game against Empire. And even he had a very middle-of-the-road day. He was, you know, third in the ratings. He got a big 1v2. There were 3 big clutches on defense. He got a big 1v2 when it mattered in round 4 as well. And pray for the 590, and it usually does the work for you. How many clutches has he got with that shotgun? in his history, what is it? 4 years of competitive play for Bosco as one of the best smokes. The only person in North America, in terms of pure history of it, that can measure up to him, and even then he would still be beyond, is Necrox.
Yes.
And that is a long